was such a good movie. But so throughout there was a lot that I loved doing, but I really loved the part where Godzilla and Kong were fighting on the ship. It was such a cool set, and just to do that with a green screen, I loved that part. It was fun. And Dad wants to add in, and he said, what about the part that wasn't in the movie that you really loved doing? What about that part? Tell them about that. And she said, oh yeah, behind the scenes, if you watch it, you can see some of the action that I got to do as well.
Shooting this stuff is just stupid fun. I'm gonna let him answer what part he likes in the movie, because look, I get to fight monsters. The entire process is stupidly awesome. But you tell me what part from what movie is your favorite, because this guy, if you haven't seen his art already, his art is the epitome of Godzilla art. It is freaking beautiful and awesome. If you guys haven't seen it, go to his booth and check it out. This stuff is spectacular. And he lives and breathes Godzilla, and he draws incredible. It's a skill that I wish I had, and I absolutely do not. So you tell us what is cool.
Well, I mean, there's so much between those movies that's really awesome. I really like it specifically when Godzilla does something that just leans a little bit more anthropomorphic, leans a little bit more like, because like you talked about earlier, there are a lot of versions of Godzilla that are more, that move differently, either because the actors are being directed to be more comical or to be funnier or do whatever. I mean, you didn't get to dance, but there is a moment in King of the Monsters, the second movie, where it's after Godzilla has come out of the ice and he's facing down with Ghidorah, and he's just got all this hatred on his face. But there's a moment when, after the two of them have clashed, and he's grabbing one of Ghidorah's heads, and he's just like, oh my God! He's just going to town on it, and then he just he spikes it against the ground, and there's something I could see you in that, and that's where you get that kind of that movement, that little bit of relatable movement when you have a motion capture actor. So yeah, that little moment always sticks out in my head, and stuff like that, like when he'll reel back and then Ghidorah gets him around the throat. There's all that back and forth. You of course working with three other great actors who are all playing a different head of Ghidorah, which is hilarious to see in the behind the scenes footage. So yeah, that's that little moment is really fun for me.
So Kayla, you got to do a lot of location shooting for this movie. Can you tell us a little bit about traveling for Godzilla vs. Kong and what you did at these locations?
Absolutely, yeah, it was such a great experience. We went to Hawaii, we shot some there, very scenes, and then we went to Australia and shot some there. And Dad is saying, but you also got to go to some of the beautiful rainforests there too, or some of the beautiful forests in Australia. She said, yeah, we got to shoot some of that shooting in the forest, I forgot that, but it was so beautiful with the waterfalls and everything. And Dad is saying, the reason why it was a lot of fun, do you want to explain? And she said, yeah, in the movie, you can see when I'm with Kong, that beautiful, luxurious forest, that's where we were. Oh. And he said, yeah, that was one of our favorite parts, because she actually got to stay in the building and then just got to go outside and see the beauty of Australia. It was exciting. It was wonderful.
So TJ, for many years, you played Godzilla in 2014, and there was not a lot of recognition for that. What is it like being able to share the experience with fans post King of the Monsters now that everybody knows you're Godzilla?
You don't really think about it. It's because you're focused on the work, and by the time the movie comes out, I mean, it's awesome to see the movies, but by the time they come out, you're working on something else. And to be Godzilla, to play something that people get into, you have to become that thing, and you have to put all your mind and all your focus on it. And you can't look up, you can't look around, it's just that thing, and nobody else knows that you're doing it. There's like 20 people that know I'm there doing it. So Yeah, and when the movie comes out, I'm working on something else. So my mind is now in. I almost said some stuff. They own satellites, and I will be lasered. So you're so focused on the new project, the new characters, that it's hard to look up, except for moments like this, and people are like, "You did good," and I'm like, "Thank you." And I really appreciate that. So it makes me feel good, and it makes me aware that people saw it, and hopefully somebody knows that I did it. My mom passed away maybe about 4 years ago, but before she passed away, she understood that I was Godzilla, and she was like, she just nodded. Then she goes, "It doesn't look like you." I'm like, "Mom." Yeah, those moments when people are like, "Bruh, I really appreciate your work. That's one of my favorite characters, and that version is my favorite character." You can actually say that to me if you want. That version is my favorite. No, but it means a lot to you, and just to be part of that world is awesome.
And kind of elaborating on that, I know that you've done other fan conventions before, but you've also had the honor of going to Japan, and you were there for Godzilla Fest Japan. Can you tell us a little about what it's like interacting with Godzilla fans in his homeland?
I wanted you to talk about that specifically. Well, you talk about it first. Okay.
Dude. Godzilla in Japan is on a whole nother level. That was awesome. I can't say much more than that. I showed up, and do you guys know who Nakajima-san is? Yes. Nakajima-san, Mr. Nakajima, was the original suit actor for Godzilla. He is the original Godzilla. I never got to meet him. But the first person I met when I got there was his daughter, Sonoe. Did I say it correctly? And she was awesome. And she goes, "My father would like your work." And I was like, I was done. I was blown away, and that is one of the greatest honors I've ever had. And then they took me out to meet the fans of Godzilla in Japan. There were 20,000 people around the Godzilla statue in Japan. There's a Godzilla statue in the middle of kind of Tokyo, in front of a movie theater. And they had this huge 65th birthday for Godzilla, and I got to talk to them. There were other people there. There were some famous artists there as well. And yes, and he was doing this huge mural, and it was just pure awesome. And then I got to go to Toho, and they showed me all the original Godzilla stuff, which they keep locked up apparently most of the time. And Toho is the owner, the creating production team of the original Godzilla. So they opened the vaults, and I saw the destroyer bomb, and I saw all the stuff, and you guys know what that is, you're true Godzilla fans. But all the suits and all of the sculptures and a lot of the stuff, it was pure awesome. I can't say anything more. What do you
I think that I was super jealous of seeing you guys getting to go to that event, specifically that 65th anniversary event, because I'm there watching it and I'm like, oh man, I know all these people and I'm not there. But I was very fortunate. Not long after that, I got to have a signing at the Godzilla store in Tokyo. And because I just had a new Godzilla book come out, that was a Godzilla comic I had done back in 2011, 2012, and they just released it in Japanese. And apparently, I think I was the first person to have a signing at the Godzilla store, because when my publisher requested it, they were like, "Well, you want to have a signing in the store? What?" And then they so they were like, "Oh, okay." So they had me come in, and I'm sitting there thinking like, I'm some gaijin, no one's gonna care, you know, like. And then I come in, and there was a line out the door, like, and I'm like, okay, cool, that's fine. And I was sitting there, and I was just cranking out autographs for people. I had several very, very young fans come up who were young Japanese fans who were like, King of the Monsters was their first Godzilla movie, and now they're like fans. Like, they're going back and watching all the old movies now, which is super fun. And I was thinking about you in that moment, and I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. And then it was funny because not long after that, this is of course right when the lockdowns happened, but they still asked for it. Toho asked me to do, because they saw what a response that I'd had at the Godzilla store, they asked me to help in their revival of the Godzilla Hamtaro crossover. If anybody remembers that. Woo! From like 2001. Yeah, they have a little Hamtaro in a little Godzilla costume and stuff, and so I drew that, and I did some other stuff for it, and they held off on it for a little while, but they finally released it. But it was because of that and that and that and that and that. So it was a good time. It's really fun going to Japan and being amongst your fellow fans.